Welcome in to the Baseball Insiders. Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, and to you, Robert Murray, my forever karaoke partner, as we are back from the Special Olympics Games in Orlando. Bert, a lot went on while we were gone, including another manager getting fired, but we did karaoke together. I was amazing, and you were terrible. So I think
Yeah.
the lights were too bright, Bird. Something happened up there to you. We got to talk about this. I don't know what happened, bro.
So I've been talking about this with other fansiders, and I can report that I have never heard the song "Barbie Girl," which is a song we sung, and I had no idea what to do, and I had everybody staring at me like, "What is this guy doing? It looks hella awkward up there." So I did what any good human being would do. I ripped my shirt off in public, and security was not having any of that. Let's just say they quickly swarmed me and were like, "Put the shirt back on, otherwise you're getting kicked out." So good times.
Yeah. So, Bert, I mean, I'm up there. It's not like I'm singing "I'm a Barbie Girl" every single day. I have a hard time. How have
I
you
don't
never?
believe that. I feel like you do that pretty often.
How have you never heard the song "I'm a Barbie Girl" in a
See,
in a
I don't
Barbie
know.
world?
Yeah, I don't know. You asked me for like some of the lyrics beforehand, and I had no clue. I just made something up on the fly that sounded like it was good, and I was way off.
When you're up there though, like the words, they put a whole screen in front of you. Were you too intimidated to look down, or did you? I mean, what was going on? Explain.
I saw the words there, and I mean, I didn't know like how I was supposed to sing them or like when I was supposed to sing them. So I was probably about a good 5 seconds too far ahead, and I just figured, you know what, I'll stop, I'll watch you do your thing, and I'll rip my shirt off. And
Yeah,
I've gotten a lot of videos, a lot of questions sent my way because of it, and you know what, we're loving life.
you
So
know,
it was a good time.
it couldn't have gone any better. For the record, I absolutely loved it, and I got to be the star singer, and you gave me the heads up that you were going to take your shirt off. I did not anticipate that security, all six of them, would come storming onto the stage and saying, "We can't have that. This chest is way too hot to be showed to the public." So I didn't know what to do at that point, so I just kept dancing around like a complete idiot. But afterwards, you were signing autographs, man. Everybody loved it. So I think in the end, you won, Bert.
No, I would agree. I did have a couple of girls hit me up afterwards, so that was pretty ideal. So I won't complain about that, Carm.
Yeah, some fansiders, by the way, tweeting away your Chris Deely. Will you be getting kicked off the stream for taking your shirt off, or is this performance different to your last joint venture? There's no shirt being taken off here, but if there was, you're certainly not getting kicked out. That would be encouraged. And Adam Weinrib with the Yanks Go Yard podcast saying that I'm a Robert girl in a Carmen world. Thank you, fansiders. We love you. We appreciate you. And we also love that there's the chats coming in here. So jump on in. A lot of news moving around in the baseball as we get into it here. We got to start with Joe Maddon, though. I think that caught everybody off guard. The Angels were the darlings of the early season. Then they lost 12 in a row. Then they fired Joe Maddon. They've now lost 14 in a row. World Series winner. The Angels haven't made the playoffs in 8 years. Off to a great start. Rough turn. Let's fire Joe Maddon. Seems like the wrong move in my mind.
You know, I thought the same exact thing, and Madden even said something on the record that he thought it was a wrong move when he was talking to Ken Rosenthal, the Athletic. But it did not catch me as off guard as it did with Joe Maddon, because there had been talk in the previous days leading up to that the Angels were considering a change at manager. And lo and behold, they ended up doing it. Perry Manassian, it was ultimately his call. And it was one that is going to, I don't want to say define his tenure as GM, but it's a big call, because you're firing a World Series winning manager after having a phenomenal start to the year amid a brutal losing streak. I'm surprised they went with Phil Nevin, though. I thought they would go with Ray Montgomery, their bench coach, but maybe they want him to get more experience in the dugout before considering that, because there's been some talk in recent days, in recent weeks, I should say, that Montgomery could end up being the guy long term with the Angels. But I think they're going to end up opening up that search in the offseason if Nevin does not get it full time.
Well, his comment that you just referenced is super interesting, and it's accurate, that front offices want a lot more control over the decisions that are made in the dugout. Are you following along to the analytics that we are giving you and making your decision based on that? We might as well why don't we put a robot in the dugout? Seriously. If you're not going to trust the guy who you went out and hired to turn around your franchise, who had you challenging for first place, who had you in the playoffs, who rallied. I'm a big Joe Maddon fan. The Cubs were down 2-1 in the NLCS, came back and beat the Dodgers. They were down 3-1 in the World Series. That's a lot worse, in the moment than having a 12-game losing streak in the middle of the season, and they were a game and a half out of the wild card at that spot. Just because he's not following your analytics, I don't know, man. That's a rough way to do business.
It's a very rough way of doing business. And you know what? That's the way the game is trending these days, especially with the Angels, because they want to be forward thinking as an organization. And maybe Maddon didn't do that as much as they wanted to. And his comments would suggest that was actually the case. So I would expect any manager that they consider is going to have to be forward thinking, which is why I believe that a guy like Ray Montgomery would be that, because one, he's obviously very close with that front office. Perry is very familiar with him. And you also and he's got experience in the dugout. He was a former player too, so he's got that, but he just needs a little bit more seasoning. And I would imagine he's going to end up being a strong candidate, but there's going to be many guys that they consider. And also, if you look at Perry's history, he was previously with the Braves. He has spent time in other organizations too. So I would imagine they're going to end up casting a pretty wide net because he's got to have a lot of ties to these candidates.
Yeah, I that makes a ton of sense. And I do think it's just worth noting as we're talking about managerial firings. Look, the Phillies fired a World Series manager in Joe Girardi, and they did it earlier than the Angels fired Maddon. Of course, the Angels were off to a great start this year. Philly never got on track. And now Philly has won their last 6. They're creeping back to 500. And I don't know if I believe that to be just a coincidence or scheduling or okay, Joe Girardi's gone. We're way happier. But I could actually see more of a balance with Girardi in the way that he runs a club versus Maddon, who is a very, very, very player-friendly guy. So, but it's interesting that 2 World Series managers who were highly sought after at the time, just in the middle of an early season plummet, out. See you later.
No, I would totally agree. And it's there's a couple things that come to mind when you say that, Carm. One, the Phillies, as soon as they ended up firing Girardi, as you mentioned, they've gone on this long winning streak. And you can see before they fired Girardi, players are going publicly with them that they were not having fun. Rob Thompson goes and takes over as manager, and it looks like they're having fun again. It's let the kids do what the kids do, and they're having a blast, and they're winning ball games. The Angels, meanwhile, ever since they fired Maddon, I know it's been only a couple days, but they have not won, and the losing streak is up to 14 games, which last time I checked, that's not very good. So it's tough times for them, and also here's a what if scenario for you. When the Angels were choosing their last manager, it was down to Joe Maddon and they were considering at one point Buck Showalter, but they ended up going in a different direction. And Showalter's obviously having a lot of success with the Mets, so it's just another what if scenario with them. If they would have hired him, would things be a lot different now?
Joe Maddon, as we wrap this up, 157 and 172 with the Angels. Mike Trout was 1 for his last 28 when the firing came down. Can you imagine? Trout's getting the call from Joe. Hey, Mike, just want to let you know they let me go. Oh, I'm sorry, Skip. I feel terrible about it. Me and Shohei have been straight awful. The reality, though, is with the extra wild card team, the Angels are nowhere near out of this. What do you think that they're – it sounds like clearly if you're making a managerial change, you think that you're still a playoff team, right?
Yeah, and they should be. I mean, look at that team. And they have two of the best players in baseball. You got Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. You have a pitching staff that's been much better with Noah Syndergaard, Michael Lorenzen being their 2 offseason additions. But they've from top to bottom, the pitching staff, their hitting, their bullpen has faded ever since their really strong start. And they said when they were announcing that Maddon got fired, that none of their units were playing well, and they wanted to have these changes. And let's just say that the Angels continue to fall, and they start looking like a seller. They have some really intriguing pieces on this team. They have Syndergaard on a 1-year deal. They have Michael Lorenzen, as I said. I don't think they would trade Aaron Loop or Ryan Tepera. There's a question in here from Dr. Inc. Does Ohtani get traded before he hits free agency? And I would say no, because that would be a move that could ruffle a lot of feathers with Mike Trout. And if there's ever one player you want to keep happy, it's him. So I would not expect Ohtani to be traded. I would look for them to try to extend him at some point. But they have some good pieces on that team as trade candidates, and if they fall out of playoff contention, that possibility increases.
Dr. Inc., we appreciate the text from you, my friend, and we can move through a bunch of these. So jump on in the comments of any baseball questions you got for my guy Robert Murray here, who, by the way, there's Woj bombs, and I don't know what they call a Schefter hootenanny. I guess maybe it's a Schefter bomb, but what we're thinking about doing for Robert is the hashtag Bert Alert. And I want to give credit to Gabrielle Starr, who does a great job covering the Phillies for us and whatnot. And we've had her on this podcast. So she's driving this along with Lauren Barish and a bunch of others. But we're going to push you with the Bert Alert.
I like that we have that on the bottom of the screen here.
Yes, exactly. The Bert Alert when you make news, which is happening all the time. Do you have a Bert Alert for us on the spot right now? And by the way, what do people think of the Bert Alert? Because I want this thing to go big. I think it's adorable. I think it's catchy. I think it's amazing. But I am open to suggestions that could possibly be better than Bert Alert.
I will say this, Carm, I do have one in the hopper.
Do you?
I do. So
right now,
it's not like going to happen today. Maybe not even happening tomorrow, but like in the next week or two.
Yeah.
Good. So keep your popcorn ready. That's my tease for everybody watching the show right now.
Okay, so you're not going to tell us what it is, but you have one that you're working on.
Exactly.
There could be a Bert Alert coming soon.
In the next week or two. Wouldn't surprise me.
All right. Well, let's move on to Johnny then. And I'm assuming the Bert Alert is not Wilson Contreras getting traded from the Cubs after signing his extension. Johnny's asking, is a Contreras extension more likely now that they have agreed to an ARB deal, which is what I was trying to say. Finally, here in June, the Cubs have settled with Wilson Contreras before going to court. So he'll make a little bit under $10 million in what could be his last year on the team. Is a Bert Alert around Wilson? What do you think this means for his future? I'm guessing nothing.
Yeah, I don't think it means anything. Although that being said, it's a good thing they did not take him to an arbitration hearing, because that's where relationships between player and team are often fractured. And there's been a couple of cases where even to this day, you hear about those relationships not having been repaired, even though it's been a couple of years since they've had those arbitration hearings. So I do think it's a good thing, and maybe it increases the chances that he's extended. But I'm still looking at the trade market as something that's more likely, at least for right now. I'm still in the 50-50 category on him being moved. But the fact that something that I thought was really interesting with that, Carm, was that Jed Hoyer had said before the season that once numbers were exchanged, that they would not settle. They would be going to a hearing. And on the day of Contreras' hearing, they ended up settling. So did something change, or was it just they did not want to go to a hearing mid-season and risk fracturing their relationship with their all-star catcher? So I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out, but I thought it was interesting at least.
That is interesting, the way you're looking at it. And I do think, okay, Let's get this settled, and let's keep all options on the table as he continues to be a leader for the Cubs, both on and off the field. Cubs actually been playing remotely better baseball. Took a couple from the Brewers. Could have won a series against the Cardinals. Had opportunities to close out the final Sunday night game. Ended up losing while we were, by the way, in Orlando. And they got rained out last night after dropping one to the Orioles. And obviously the Cubs are not about winning baseball games right now, but they have at least moderately been playing better. Robbie Delgado is a Padres fan, so let's bring in his comment. Do you see a major trade happening prior to the All-Star game? That's interesting. And we were talking before the show, Bert. I was saying, what's the biggest name that you think is going to get moved? And you can say it right here, but you're completely uncertain as to what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I am. And it's because the trade market is so uncertain right now. Like at one point, the Red Sox looked like a prime seller, and you could list off 5 or 6 candidates with them that look like good trade pieces. And now they're probably going to end up buying. At least that's how it looks right now. The Mariners are a possibility to sell. Angels, as I said, if they continue to lose, like they could. But to answer Robbie Delgado's question, which is a good one, I think if there is a big player traded, it's going to end up being Frankie Montas. His market is going to end up being really, 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 really strong. He's pitched fantastic this year. He's capable of eating 180 plus innings, and he's signed for next year, which is very valuable to these teams. And you could look at somebody trying to get aggressive and trying to jump the market for him. That being said, I think it's more likely he's traded closer to the deadline than it is before the All-Star game. But you know what? All it takes is one team to say, hey, we'll give you the moon and a planet to be named later for Frankie Montas. So, but that's the one I'm going to be watching pretty closely. I've heard of a lot of teams already starting to look at him. And also, I'll float out another one, Carm. If you're ready for this, we got a bonus nugget. Jose Quintana. The way he's been pitching for the Pirates, he was signed for 1 year. I want to say $2.5 million this past winter. He's pitched great, and he's going to end up being a nice under the radar candidate for a lot of these teams. So I would not be surprised if he's got a pretty strong market come the deadline if he continues to pitch like this.
Cubs going to take another flyer on Jose Quintana. Good job, Pittsburgh, I guess.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's the kind of move they need to make, Carm. Those low under the radar ones that can end up netting you maybe like a top 15, top 20 prospect. Yeah, props to them. Although I don't think they're going to be getting Eloy Jimenez for Quintana. I still can't believe that trade, Carm. That might be one of the more wild ones since I've joined baseball.
Don't forget Dylan Cease too, and a couple of others. That was win for the Chicago White Sox. And since you just brought that up, I'm sure you have not heard any Tony La Russa getting fired rumors, because Tony La Russa is not going to be fired. He's very close with the owner there with the White Sox and Jerry Reinsdorf, and I'm not even sure if Tony should be fired. But White Sox fans, at least I would say a good half of them, have lost it with Tony to this point. And yesterday he had Leury Garcia leading off, struck out 3 times. Leury's comments after the game was like, I feel absolutely horrible at the plate. And his slash line is, I don't have it right in front of me, but it's 182, 188. I mean, it's bad. I don't understand how you would lose the ability to fill out a lineup card, even if you're 77 years old. But it's not great right now for Tony in Chicago. And the White Sox, as we've mentioned each week, just continue to be a major, major disappointment this year. Although they do lead the Dodgers right now 1-0, bottom 3.
Comeback is on, Carm. Look at
there
that.
It is.
Trying to rally. Extend Tony La Russa. But no, I have not heard any talk about La Russa getting fired. And as you said, I can't imagine any scenario in which he's fired, because that's Jerry Reinsdorf's dude. And he's not going to fire his guy after 1.5 years. And I know that's going to frustrate a lot of White Sox fans. And you know what? I get it. I mean, that was not a hire I agreed with when they made it. And it's not looking very good. Let's just say that. But I have some faith that they can turn this around. But at this point, I mean, what are we, 55 games into the season? Somewhere in that range. I mean, I'm always like a believer that the midway point is when you have like a decent idea of what you are. And we're a month away from that. And the White Sox have proved, or have continued to show, I should say, that they're not like an elite ball club. They're underperforming. And you know what? It's a shame because I thought that team was like destined to be really, really good. And I don't think it all falls on the manager, but he certainly does not help.
They're 26 and 28. So it's 54 games. They are, I mean, run differential can be a very inaccurate stat, but they're minus 55, which does jump out for a team that's playing 500 baseball in essence. Like that is rare. And there's been some great stories. Michael Kopech continues to be a great story. Beat the Dodgers the other night, was dominant. So there are reasons to think the White Sox could turn it around, but their offense has just been straight horrible. Moncada.
Yeah. Can I ask you something, Carm?
Yeah.
I don't think I want to preface that I have not heard this, but let's say the White Sox are not like strongly in contention to come the trade deadline. If they end up selling, big if, who do you think are some of their best trade pieces?
So that's super interesting. Like, who would they sell? I can't even imagine them being in that position.
Me neither, which is why I can't believe I actually just asked that question.
Yeah. So, I mean, who would they like to sell? I mean, maybe they'd want to sell Grandal. That'd be an interesting piece, but he's been a huge disappointment. I don't know who's taking on that contract. Who would they sell in the rotation? You know, would they consider punting if he can get back on the mound and get healthy and show with Lance Lynn, somebody like that? I can't imagine they would even consider doing something like Lucas Giolito, but if there's somebody in that organization, it's like, we're not going to pay him. I don't. Again, I assume the White Sox will, but you know, if we're talking about going all bold, but they're still in their window, man. They're not going to be looking at it like that. It seems way off.
No, I would agree. Although the Grandal one is interesting, I can imagine some team maybe taking a flyer there, but like that contract is like, eek.
Yeah. I don't. It's not over the top money, but I wouldn't expect that to. And it's not like the White Sox have any really interesting catching options either. But okay, what about a team that will be selling, Bert, that you wanted to mention today is the Nationals, bringing up the rear in the NL East at 21 and 37. Who's first to go out of Washington?
Yeah, that team, they have a lot of they have a lot of guys that are signed to these 1-year contracts or on expiring contracts, but the two that stand out to me the most would be Josh Bell, who got off to a really strong start to the year. Could be a nice candidate for a team that needs a first baseman. And then you look at Nelson Cruz. He's somebody that teams obviously love, even though he's had a bit of a down year. And I would imagine he's going to still garner quite a bit of interest, maybe just not netting the kind of prospect package that he did in the past. But, I mean, teams that could make sense for Cruz. I mean, I always look at the Padres with him just because A.J. Preller has loved him. And they have showed previous interest, although I did find it interesting. I heard in the offseason that despite them making a push for him at the trade deadline, they did not prioritize him this winter. I think they had other things they wanted to get done first, and because of it, they lost out on Cruz. But I mean, Preller, he goes after his guys, and Cruz is clearly one of them, so I would put him in that category. So I would also mention, I mean, these are other teams that showed interest in him in the offseason and in previous years. The Dodgers, you have the Braves, you have the Brewers, and I think there's another one in there I'm forgetting. But anyways, I mean, those two are going to end up being their strongest candidates to be traded, and I would expect both of them to go.
All right, an active time coming up for the Nats. It's probably sooner than later. You think they'll be the first to jump into the we're selling pool?
They'll be one of the first for sure. And I also thought it was really interesting that Mike Rizzo, their GM, went on the record and said like they would be looking to move those kind of guys. And the fact that he said that 2 months before the deadline shows me that he's pretty serious about doing these kind of deals. So it wouldn't shock me if any of these went down at any point. But that being said, I'm not hearing that anything is imminent right now.
Okay. Philip Spector in the chat here. The Padres need an outfield batter too. Who are some realistic targets before the deadline? And he appreciates us getting you in there. Phil, appreciate you writing in at the Baseball Insiders. Hit that subscribe button. And by the way, if you subscribe to the Baseball Insiders, follow myself, follow Robert. We have until Saturday. We're giving away a Shohei Ohtani. Don't worry about the recent performance. That will turn around. We're giving away an Ohtani jersey. You can see how we're doing that in the description for the show. So get yourself in our sweepstakes for a Shohei Ohtani jersey. What are your thoughts about Philip and his Padres?
Yeah, first off, I want to give a shout out to Padres fans, Carm. They usually take over our chats here, and we sincerely appreciate all the support here, especially Will Holder, annual or a weekly listener and viewer, and also likes to DM me on Twitter and all that stuff. So I appreciate all your support, guys. But as far as the Padres and their trade possibilities, I mentioned Chad Pinder as an option for them, and he's also another player on an expiring contract. Has familiarity with Bob Melvin from Oakland. I've heard from multiple people that Bob Melvin loves Chad Pinder. So that would be a possibility to me.
Bob Melvin loves Chad Pinder.
Yep.
Robert, I'm going to give you a movie reference right now that I don't know how many people will get, but have you ever seen Wall Street with Michael Douglas, aka Gordon Gekko?
I don't even know who Michael Douglas, did you say?
Yeah, Michael Douglas. He's a very famous actor, but maybe a little bit before your time, even though he's still kicking around. Blue Horseshoe loves, I forget the airline. So the way you said that, it just made me think of the movie. Great movie if anybody hasn't seen it. Wall Street is awesome. Not the sequel, but the first one. Bob Melvin. Well, who loves who? Say it again. Bob Melvin loves Chad
Pinder.
Loves Chad Pinder.
Yeah, heavy emphasis on loves.
Yeah, okay. He loves Anacott Steel. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
Blue Horseshoe loves Anacott Steel. And then everybody buys Anacott Steel. That's a good job right there. And Mike Zach is producing, directing, and doing everything for the show, so you can't see his comment on there, but he's one of our heroes. Great movie, Bert. Bert, you're on there. You got to see that and Romancing the Stone. Two Michael Douglas when he's a little bit younger movies. All right, to your boy William, to our guy rather, William Holder. I don't know why I said that. What other teams are Luis Campusano? Will he ever catch on for the Padres? Can you go that deep on the Padres for us, Bert? Because I know I can't.
No, I can do that, and I know that there we go. This is why we're a good team here, Carm.
Yeah, I tee you up for the ones that are out of my jurisdiction, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I may not be pulling out the driver here, but I can at least get like a good 3-wood or something. So,
okay.
I mean, that'll still play. But there's teams that have mixed reviews on Luis Campusano, both for on and off the field reasons. And I would imagine that's going to make him a little bit more difficult to trade because in previous years, he was, or I would say maybe a couple of years ago, he was a pretty coveted guy. They told the Rangers and other teams that they would not trade him because they thought he was going to end up being their guy long-term behind the plate. And those concerns have kind of like clouded that a little bit. And yeah, I don't know what his future is going to hold in San Diego, whether it's there or with another team. So that's kind of, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
All right. I like it. William, I personally think that Robert should give you his cell phone so you guys can communicate on this level of depth all the time. Bert, are you in, or would you rather just keep your communication with William to the Baseball Insiders?
I'm a man of the people, Carm. Whatever works best.
Luis, we'll talk offline, William. Me and you will talk offline, and then we'll get to Luis also and see what he thinks about your questions about him, and everything will work out beautifully. Back to Johnny, by the way. Is Bob Nightingale's report? Hey, trust everything that Bob Nightingale says. Don't care about the fact that he's been wrong 100 times. Bob's a good man. And he gets a lot right. We love you, Bob Nightingale. Is Bob Nightingale's report about the Cubs going after a big-name shortstop this offseason true? Well, they were in on Carlos Correa last year. Johnny didn't get him. So seems to me that Bob is on the money here. But, Bert, go ahead.
I can tell you, Carm, their interest in Carlos Correa was overblown. They were never, strong. So, yeah.
Okay.
I remember checking on those rumors as they were being reported, and somebody that I firmly trust was like, I mean, we like him, but we're not at the point where we're all in on this guy. And maybe they end up going after a bigger shortstop this winter. There's two, or actually there's one, potentially two, that are looking really freaking good. You have Correa, who's very likely going to opt out. And then you have Trey Turner, who I think is quite possibly the best shortstop in baseball. I love Trey Turner for what he brings to the table, what he brings off the field. I've had multiple people just absolutely rave about him to me, and I had one text me the other day that the stat WAR was basically made for Trey Turner because he can do basically everything that you want. And yeah, he's just really freaking good. So I would imagine that contract is going to end up being very, very, very lucrative, and that could price the Cubs out of it. But you know what? Maybe this year's different than last year.
They got all the money, man. If they want to be at the top, they certainly can afford to be at the top. By the way, Correa officially back yesterday, returned. Twins beat the Yankees 8-1. He was 1 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts in his return. Now hitting a 280, 348 the on base, 406 slugs, an OPS of 754. Twins are in first place by 4 games, so I guess you're getting your money's worth. But he's not exactly completely crushed it to this point and has missed time.
No, exactly. And I still fully expect him to opt out, Carm, but he may not get that monster contract that he thought he would, just because he's not performing at that level that he's used to. I don't expect him to have to sign another 1-year deal. I would expect him to get a pretty hefty, long-term contract, but it just may not be what he thought it would be.
All right, let's move on to a team that you do a ton of work for us. You wrote a piece recently about Albert Pujols, which I think it looks very appropriate, by the way, that he's finishing up his career seemingly in St. Louis. But the Cardinals are an interesting little case study so far, Bert. And as we sit today, St. Louis right in the thick of it, as per usual, in the NL Central. They're a game back of the Brewers, sitting at 32-26. And you think that the Redbirds should go for it, damn it. Let's go. St. Louis all in. Explain why.
Yeah, I think they should absolutely be all in, Carm. And you look at their team, they've had Nolan Arenado struggle after a really strong first month. They've had Tyler O'Neill really not perform what he has been like, where he's not performing at the level that he did last year. They've had Jack Flaherty out for the first 55 games of the year. The rotation has kind of just not been great, and yet they're still firmly in this playoff race. They're a prominent National League contender, especially in the NL Central, right behind the Brewers. And if you end up adding another, let's say, top of the rotation kind of guy, or you add another bullpen piece, I think they're going to be good on hitting. But if you add, let's say, a top-end starter and you add a nice, strong bullpen piece, then you have Arenado bounce back, you have O'Neill bounce back, you have Flaherty return. You're looking at a freaking good team, Carm. And if I was their president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak, I would 1,000% strongly consider parting with some top guys to get those kind of players. That being said, he has not had a history of doing so. He's preferred to hold on to his top prospects. But let's say, one guy they've been pretty connected to is Frankie Montas. They would have a year and a half of control of him, and maybe that makes them more willing to part with a guy like, let's say, Nolan Gorman or Matthew Liberatore. I don't know if that's actually the case, but I mean, it would be something that I would consider if I was him, especially this year, because you have Yadier Molina, you have Adam Wainwright, and Albert Pujols all set to retire after the year. Going for it for one more season when you have the boys still in town, I mean, I would consider doing that.
So your piece, by the way, on Albert Pujols, must read, redbirdrant.com. Cardinals graphic puts Albert Pujols' career dominance into perspective. I guess this just got published, Bert. It says here 5 minutes ago. Can you underline a little bit why you wrote this one? I mean, you put it out here. Games 3,002, which is 8th. Hits 3,320, 9th. Home run 683, 5th. RBIs 2,165, 3rd. Total bases 6,075, 3rd in baseball history. Now, I don't think most of us have thought about Albert Pujols as a good baseball player for at least half a decade. But when you look at the totality of his career, can't deny first ballot Hall of Famer. Albert's also, I've just really enjoyed him as a person, by the way, the couple times I've gotten to be in the clubhouse and meet him. So he's a good man, Albert Pujols. So, and the Cardinals, give him credit, let him go at the right time, and now bringing him back for a little final season. I think that's a nice little ending.
No, it most certainly is. And you end up talking to people around the Cardinals, and like obviously he's not the same player he was when he was putting up those just absolutely insane numbers. But he's bringing something to the table that I think the Cardinals knew about going in, but maybe didn't understand it'd be like as impactful. And that's like what he brings to the clubhouse, and especially to the younger players, is he's taken a lot of these guys, one of them being Dylan Carlson, under his wing and helped them bounce back, and just giving them pointers along the way. And he's basically stepped right in where he left off when he left St. Louis, and that's as a clubhouse leader. He's had even guys like Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt look up to him, which players look up to Goldschmidt and Arenado, not the other way around. Let me rephrase that. Players look up to Arenado and Goldschmidt, and then Goldschmidt and Arenado look up to Pujols. And you know what? It's a good thing. It takes a little bit of pressure off of both of those guys to be clubhouse leaders, especially since both of them, especially Arenado, are relatively new to St. Louis. It's just a cool dynamic. And you know what? I think they should go for it, Carm. And it being Pujols and Molina and Wainwright's last seasons in St. Louis is a big reason for that.
All right. Hey, before we get on out of here, and by the way, the Baseball Insider is coming back on a regular schedule now that Orlando has gone every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 Central Time. We are live. We are here for you. We love you, and we appreciate you. Please hit that subscribe button, and don't forget, get involved in our Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes, which ends on Saturday. So do it now. Do not procrastinate, and you can get yourself an Ohtani jersey. I didn't take advantage of this when it was on the screen earlier, but I'll bring it up on the way out here. The Angels are trying desperately to end their losing streak, and they went to Nickelback. I don't know how you feel about Nickelback, but they had their hitters spend Wednesday night going up for the walk-up song, and they went with good old Nickelback, which I don't know. Are you a fan there, buddy?
I used to be when I was like maybe 7 or 8 years old. Now I'm 26 now, and I cannot say I've listened to Nickelback in probably the last 15 years, maybe the last 10 years to be conservative. But the fact they ended up going up and playing Nickelback before each at bat, Carm, and there's no wonder they lost the 14th game. That's just bad juju, walking out to the plate and hearing Nickelback. Not a fan. What do you think?
I'm not a Nickelback guy, and you know, bring back Joe Maddon. Let him do some Houdini stuff. Maybe he'll have some iguanas run around the field. Perhaps there will be, you know, there's a million different ways that Joe can get creative in these things. This is not the time that you punt on Joe Maddon. Nobody will figure it out like Maddon in those circumstances, because he's done it time and time again in the past. But It's the way it went for the Angels. So I don't know. Do you have an opinion on their GM?
I do. I think he's a very smart guy. I think that was actually so. I remember when they first hired him, there was a lot of just questions as to why they ended up going in that direction because he had never. I mean, they could have gone in a lot of different directions, and he wasn't like the obvious candidate. But everybody who's worked with him has praised him, and he's a baseball lifer. Like he eats, sleeps, and breathes baseball, and he also has something working in his favor. He's got relationships in a lot of different places. And like, I know a lot of people speak very highly of him, but this was a huge risk arm. This was a move that for many people came out of left field. There was some writing on the wall it was coming, of course, but his success is going to be tied to this next manager that he hires. And it's a freaking big one. So I'm very curious to see what direction he goes in. I'm a believer in him. I think he's good, but there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered there. So jury's still out on Perry Manassian.
All right, we can wrap it there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bert, getting to spend 4 days with you in sun-drenched Orlando with a bunch of rain splashed in as well,
Yeah,
singing karaoke, having some meals, riding the bus. Oh yeah, I forgot about.
I was waiting for you to bring this up, Carmen.
Yeah. We played horse, and I haven't won a horse game since 1993. But then here came Bert rolling in, and I just took you down in back-to-back games, and you wanted off the court. You wanted to get back to all the Fansiders, and that was the end of our horse game. But I had to take you down. That's just the way it went.
Yeah, this is why Karma is a really good friend and co-host. Is he always knows how to humble me, and he certainly did that day on the basketball court. That was tough. That was a bad day for my ego.
For the record, Bert's shot is extremely ugly, and the footwork is not good. It's like you're kind of sideways to the basket, but you drained a bunch of shots. I just got hot, so you weren't terrible, and you do have a video that you could tweet out, which I would welcome you to do. I don't know if you deleted it, of me trying to hit
that. No shot.
Okay. Well, if you want, feel free, or send it to me and I'll post it, because you've got more Twitter integrity. You've got you got legions of fans waiting for baseball news. Next thing you know, you put out car missing layups and you could lose a follower or two. I don't want that to happen to you, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's good looking out. I will say it's weird because I have a bunch of people who have tweet notifications on for me, and if I tweet just a random thing, I get yelled at in either my mentions or my DMs, and they like, tweet baseball news, coward.
Just remember, your Twitter is your Twitter, and if they don't want to follow you and not get the news, and not get the bird alerts, that's going to be their loss. So I literally think you can do whatever the hell you want, buddy. They ain't leaving.
Total agreement with that.
Yeah.
Total agreement.
Yeah. But yes, I've never felt better on the hoop court in at least a decade than just calmly taking you down.
Yeah, no, it's what I do. I try to make my people feel better. And next time we play, I'm going to start trying. Actually, what I should do, Carm, is have take all my shots backwards, because I was 2 for 2.
That was true, and I somehow miraculously hit one over my head to not get eliminated on my second attempt in game 2. But that's, what that is, Bert? It's called clutch.
I don't have the clutch gene, Carl. What's the opposite of clutch?
You're incredibly clutch. And when you do the next bird alert coming up here in the next day or so, another clutch play by you. But no, Robert Murray is better in person than he is on Zoom, and look at how good you are on Zoom. So.
There we go.
Good to see you in person, buddy.
Good to see you too, Carm. Let's do it again soon. I expect you to fly out to Scottsdale to come visit your pal.
I'll come. And Chicago's great in the summer, so and you got Midwest roots, so you got to get back here. But hey, next Tuesday, 2:00, we're back with the Baseball Insiders. Go get yourself an Ohtani jersey. Hit that subscribe button. Turn those alerts on. Robert, say bye.
Adios, everybody. Please subscribe so I can continue to feed my family. Thank you.
We'll see you next time.